How are you, Adrian?
Rich, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Let's get right into it. Do you think we saw Tim Duncan's last game last night?
It's very possible. I don't think he's decided yet, and I know the Spurs don't know what he's going to do. And I take him at his word that he's going to step away. Tim's never going to do anything rash. He's going to step away. He's going to take time. I think knowing him, he'll make sure he has an answer for them before the start of free agency so they can make their plans. They want him back. If Tim, the question is going to be, does Tim want an even more reduced role? Does he want to have nights where he doesn't, listen, there's still nights he can contribute and do well, but he's Tim Duncan. Does he want to not, does he want to diminish even further in front of people's eyes? But there's no reason they can't be a championship contender again next year. There's things they can do in free agency. They have two, first, second team all-league level guys in Aldridge and Kawhi Leonard. So there are reasons for him to maybe want to do this again, but he's 40 years old.
But who is he, right? I mean, we were having this conversation in the first segment. Our poll question today is, whose career would you rather have, Kobe or Duncan's? Kobe, you know everything about, right? Duncan, he's still, after all this time on the national stage at Wake Forest and San Antonio, a mystery to some people. Can you fill in the blanks for us? Who he is?
Well, he is, and that's because that's the way he's wanted it. And he's wanted to keep, he's been perfect for them, for their program. He's, he's been the face of that franchise, and he's set the standard there every day for them. He's why they have 5 championships. And, he did come relatively close to leaving for Orlando the one time. Decided to stay, and I know he certainly doesn't regret it, but it's been, he doesn't want what Kobe had. He doesn't want that farewell. He's not comfortable with it. He wouldn't be comfortable with it. When he leaves, it's going to just be goodbye, and that'll be it. And there's no, in the last 20 years, I wouldn't trade his career for anybody's. The level he stayed at. Listen, he was still a very good player. He was an all-star at 38, and at 40, he's still contributing on an elite team. It's been a remarkable run, and there'll never be another like him.
How do you find interviewing Popovich? What's your experience like?
Listen, there's nobody better one-on-one. He's not great in those press conferences. I don't ask questions in those press conferences, but, to me, there's not value in asking a question that everybody else is getting the answer to. There's value in having people one-on-one. When the cameras are off, there's no one better than Pop. When they're on, you see what it is.
Well, would you think that the fact that, because the NBA, I know Major League Baseball does make managers available before darn near every game. The NFL, that doesn't happen. But in the NBA, it just seems that the availabilities that happen seem to weigh on somebody like Popovich year in and year out, just going through the Sturm and Drang of a Q&A session, Adrian, right? I mean, would you chalk it up to that?
I think they weigh on, a lot of guys. It's part of the job, certainly. Some guys enjoy it more than others. But in the NBA, you do. As a head coach on a game day, a head coach is going to talk perhaps after shoot-around in the morning, and then before the game, and then post-game. So 3 times. There's not another sport. Maybe there's not another sport. Baseball manager will do before game, after game. But, these are relatively brief sessions. These are like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world.
Adrian Wojnarowski of Yahoo Sports, The Vertical, joining me here on The Rich Eisen Show. So what did happen with the Thunder in this series that suddenly they're not only closing games out that they're down in the fourth quarter, they're closing out series against 67-win teams with great players on it. What happened with the Thunder in this series?
You really saw the vision of their GM, Sam Presti, take shape in this series. Obviously, the great skill, athleticism, explosion of Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, but size, bringing in Enes Kanter last year at the trade deadline, the drafting of Steven Adams from the draft pick that came in the James Harden trade, the having size and the physicality, that really wore on the Spurs as the series went on, and it is a tremendous advantage. You've seen, and Billy Donovan, Billy was taking a lot of heat from people. I always felt Billy would be a good NBA coach for a couple reasons. One, because he works really hard at it and he's really smart, and that he would evolve. It's like the only way to become a good NBA coach is to coach NBA games and to coach an NBA season. You're going to get better at it if you put the time in, and he did and does. And I think you saw in this series, some of the adjustments he made, really had San Antonio on their heels as the series went on, and they really played to their strengths with the Thunder. And you just see there was such pressure. I was in San Antonio after that 40-point blowout in Game 1 or whatever it was, and the way Billy handled himself after that game, he was as even as if they had won, and I thought that team responded to his disposition. And some college guys would come to the NBA where one game has greater weight in college basketball, and Billy's temperament was right for the NBA because he understands this. It's about the players. It's not about him. A lot of college coaches who made that transition, they still think it's about them in the NBA. Billy was always fine with it being about his players, and I think that served him well over the long run in this season for Oklahoma.
That's a heck of a point, Adrian. So let's flash forward then. Handicap this for the viewers and listeners of this show, something that they should keep in their mind's eye as the Western Conference Final plays out, the key, if you will, between Warriors and Thunder.
Well, the thing with Oklahoma, the one thing both the Spurs and Warriors did was really defend the three-point line as well as anybody in the league. The Warriors-Spurs were 1-2 in the league defending the three-point line. I thought that the Thunder really they really, as the series went on, moved the ball. Their ball movement became much better, a little less one-on-one that sometimes you see with Durant, Westbrook, where it almost feels like they're taking turns instead of the ball really moving. And I think that's certainly a chance for Oklahoma against Golden State. They're great defensively. They guard that three-point line. And then they recover when the ball gets in the paint. So that will be the key for me for the Thunder is the ball moving. You will not be Golden State playing them one-on-one and just running a lot of isolations. That ball's got to move. And if the Thunder can do that, they'll be in the series.
Adrian Wojnarowski of Yahoo Sports joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. So what happened with Scott Skiles in Orlando? What happened there?
Skiles did not love the personnel. He did not like the direction of the team. Elfrid Payton at point guard, he had a very stark contrasting point of view with management who believes in Elfrid Payton. He did not love him as his point guard of the future. The organization made it clear he's going to be our point guard. And, Scott, in the end felt like this wasn't the kind of team he wanted to coach. And I think he was tired of butting heads already with management on it. And he just walked away.
Just tapped out. Does Phil Jackson know him?
Well, because he has 4 years, remember, too, he walked out on a contract, so he can't go coach somewhere else. Now, if the Knicks wanted to give compensation, I guess he could, but you can't just quit one team and say, I'm going to go coach this team next week. That's why you signed a contract. So
yes, that's true.
I don't see anybody giving compensation to Orlando to go hire Scott Skiles. No one's giving a draft pickup for him.
So what is going on in this town with the Knicks coaching search, man? What in the world?
Well, I do think the Knicks have had conversations. I think they've continued to, I think they've continued to examine outside candidates. Now, I think the biggest question for Phil Jackson and talking to people who know him well is if he keeps Kurt Rambis in there. Listen, Phil at heart is still a coach. And I think if Phil physically could coach, he would coach that team. He physically can't do it. Having Rambis there is a way for him to coach that team through to sort of satisfy that desire to coach. If he brings somebody from the outside in, especially a guy who, let's say hypothetically a Frank Vogel, a David Blatt, he doesn't have the relationship. They're not running his stuff. And I think that's where Phil Jackson is with this. That's kind of the decision he's making here on Rambis versus bringing an outside candidate in.
Well, where do you stand on the subject of they're trying to wait Carmelo out to try and smoke him out of New York City? What do you think of that theory?
listen, he has that no trade for a reason.
Right.
And I don't think Carmelo has any. I think Carmelo thinks he's going to outlast Phil there. And I've always believed Carmelo will outlast Phil there. Carmelo's not going to agree to go to a mid-market, small market. He's not doing that. Now, maybe if somebody comes to him with a Los Angeles, let's say, I'm just throwing hypotheticals out. These aren't real things.
Sure.
Like the Clippers or somewhere in a big market or the Bulls, Chicago and L.A., I think he'd be open to considering it. But the idea that, let's say Cleveland wanted to make changes and bring him in, he's not going to Cleveland. He's a big market guy. He loves living in New York. I don't think Carmelo is ever going to waive that no trade. I think he's going to be in New York, and I think he'll be waiting there for the next GM who comes in if Phil walks out. I don't think Carmelo ever walks away from this team.
Adrian, thanks for coming on. Love your site. Love it.
Rich, thanks very much.
You bet. You bet. You got it. The Vertical on Yahoo Sports.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.